Yes, I am co-founder and chairman at CybExer Technologies. CybExer is a cyber range technology company, and we've been in business for 7 years, and we're serving some of the top customers in the government, but also increasingly so in commercial sector. Yes, my background is also in government. I have been working in as a diplomat in Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I started when I was 18 years old as a visa clerk, and my career ended as permanent secretary of defense at our Ministry of Defense. So I actually passed through all the layers of civil service in something like 10 years.
Wow.
And permanent means 5 years. So when that was over at 2008, then I joined private sector. 2007 was interesting year because we experienced a very large cyber attack, which was sort of a definitive moment, not only for Estonia, but wider Europe and also global community. And we can talk about that. I started in 2004 when we came up with initiative to establish NATO Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. That was 20 years ago now, and again, it took us some convincing to actually explain to NATO how cybersecurity can be part of their toolbox. We can talk about that. Currently, I don't work for government, but we have. I participate in several public initiatives, so I'm also member of the board of directors at our Information Technology and Telecommunications Association, and I'm responsible for our cybersecurity portfolio and initiatives. And also interestingly, which is interesting challenge. I was invited to be part of our Ministry of Education's AI Council, and we're looking how we are helping to deal our schools, teachers, and students with the challenges of AI that is coming on. So that's about me.
Okay, I've never been to Estonia. How would you describe Estonia and the people as well?
I would use 4 pictures if you are in Estonia, and I think this type of cultural dimension is incredibly important when it comes to innovation and when it also comes to tech. I think all countries are different, and this type of cultural context can give you some advantages. It can give also you some disadvantages. I use sort of 4 pictures to describe Estonia, but also Estonia's approach to IT. I don't know if you Google Estonia, then you will. One of the first pictures that you will see is the city skyline of Tallinn, which is the capital of Estonia, and it's an old, beautiful medieval city, which is very, very similar to many cities along the Baltic coast that popped up in Middle Ages. With the salt and spice trade and all those nice things, and the question that we sometimes ask, and then we get to ask, how is it possible that Tallinn has one of the best preserved old medieval towns in this area? Why? How did we manage to keep it so beautiful? And the answer to this is because we were poor. Tallinn was important center in Middle Ages, but after Nordic War 1710, it became a provincial town, and Tallinn just didn't have money to renovate and tear down the old buildings, so we actually had to survive like that, and then that's the same approach that we have taken to digital transformation as well. We're sometimes asked that how come Estonia, when it regained its independence in 1991, decided to invest in IT that made us very well positioned in digital innovation and digital transformation in general. And the answer is the same: because we were poor. We didn't have money to keep up bureaucrats. We didn't have money to fund this massive bureaucratic machine. IT was just a cheaper way to do it. So it wasn't a special extra investment. It was actually to save money. The second picture that you would immediately have is that Estonia as a country, if you go to the countryside, there are a couple of types of how villages in the countryside are built. And you have, in the Central Europe, more Eastern Europe, also in Western Europe, a village or a town is a collection of houses. Houses are built closer to each other, and then people wanted to live together in communities, and then they would go out for fields to work and make their money. Estonian villages are different. We don't have sort of those collective villages, but the villages are sparse. So so one house is at the corner of the field, and then one of the criteria is that we don't want to see the windows of the other of our neighbor, and especially when you go to the countryside, you will see lots of forest, you will see lots of agriculture, and you never see those really tiny villages that are together. Like if you go to, I don't know, Swiss mountains or France or Italy for that matter, and there's a strong sense of privacy. That means that, and again, with this openness to innovation, we also have this very strong sense of privacy, and again, that informs and influences the way we innovate, the way we carry out our innovation. The third picture I would give you, and again, that's similar to UK. If you look at the traffic jams in Estonia, if you look at the places where several people need to have the same thing at the same time, then Estonians like to queue, and queuing,
like Britain.
like British, yes, that's where we're very similar. So I mean, if you pass a queue, that's a mortal sin. If you pass a queue also in a traffic jam, that's a mortal sin. So if you know that there's some kind of traffic block ahead, then you will see Estonians lining up already 2 kilometers ahead. And although there's another line almost free, you will still see Estonia lining up, and it's considered extremely impolite to pass. And again, the reason for this is that we fundamentally, as a small country, we believe in law and order, and we don't have a nuclear weapon, we don't have a massively big army. The law has always been on our side. That's the only thing that we can rely on, and people fundamentally trust that, and this trust in process, the trust in the strength of the law is another thing that actually encourages people to experiment. So when we come up with a regulation that every Estonian should have an ID, and this ID should have a microchip, and we can use this microchip to actually allow people to participate in elections, then this law is accepted because it comes with this enormous level of trust, which also sort of informs our transparency decisions, and again, we can talk about that. But in 2007, for example, when Estonia was attacked massively, I was part of the crisis response teams sitting in the police situation room, and we actually had a debate: can we or should we publish this, or should we somehow use some kind of media tactic to divert attention, maybe to downplay the event, maybe to use some kind of diversion. And then after a debate, the decision was made: 2007 Estonian attacks. We are going to talk about that as much as possible, as often as possible, and unclassify as many things as possible. One of our primary concerns was that by that time already Estonia was a leader in e-services, digital transformation. We made a big story out of it, and of course, if you suffer a cyber attack, distributed denial of service cyber attack, which somehow hampers your government websites, not critical services, but still is highly visible, then it's kind of embarrassing, and it's kind of embarrassing to admit. And then, but nevertheless, we decided to talk about it, and the ultimate dividend that we received was actually the dividend of trust, the public services spiked after that. The public trust spiked after that. So the fourth component, and there are many pictures, but if you haven't been in Estonia, it's kind of hard to explain. Is this sense of transparency, sense of doing things together, sense of community. You can see that, for example, we have this massive singing festival. All tens of thousands of people come together just to sing some of the old songs. That's very similar to Irish, for example. You have this strong singing culture, community culture, and also again that leads to strong sense of transparency and trust of each other. I think it's the components of it. I mean, we have a very strong sense of sort of economic efficiency. So it's efficiency. It is very strong sense of privacy. There are people prefer to do things in their own corner. They pay attention to this. They are on average more informed on security. But that's also that this type of the privacy aspect is a relatively important comparative advantage, because also when you want to introduce services. So every digital service that Estonia introduces has a mandatory percentage that goes to the security of the service, be it pen testing or stress testing or some other things. And then you have this fundamental belief in law and process, which is the sort of vehicle to bring people together, and ultimately the sense of transparency and doing things together and trying to punch above the weight. That is also part of the identity. So it's not one element taken separately, but I think it's the combination, it's the specific mix. So for example, in some nations you have this sense of privacy very, very strong. I was having interesting roundtable recently with Germany, for example, and with German companies and also government officials, and there's the prevailing fear against digital transformation is related to this very strong sense of privacy, private data, people not willing to go online. Yes, to a certain extent you have that in Estonia, but you also have this very strong sense of community, willingness to experiment, because we have this component of process and component of transparency and component of economic efficiency there as well. So that's definitely one of the drivers. We after the 2007 attacks, the public perception did not change. If it changed more towards the e-services, because the critical e-services, number one, proved to be very resilient. Number two, e-services actually proved to be e-service providers proved to be transparent. I think people appreciated that we are talking about this, and Estonia actually became part of a wider global cyber story. Estonia was not the first country, of course, to suffer a spectacular cyber attack, but Estonia was one of the first countries, if not the first country, to talk about it at that scale. And that might be the reason why I'm talking to you right here, because it actually empowered our business community, it empowered our digital story even more, and it showed very, very powerfully that there are two sides of this coin, of the benefits of digital transformation, but also the need to have security. Perhaps a better example of really consequential breach of security, you might say, came in, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019 or 2018 during one of the national election campaigns. So we can easily Google that, the exact year, but it's very recent. So we had, of course, one of the unique features of Estonian society is our e-elections. So people can use their ID card to vote. This has, in my opinion, improved the security of elections massively. So, for example, if you look at the recent referendum on EU in Georgia, I don't know if you have been following the country of Georgia, what you will see that there's footage of people attacking the polling stations, cramming ballots into the box, threatening people, beating them up. Somehow, the opposition to the e-voting tries to bring the point that paper ballots are more secure. Look at what is going on in U.S. elections, for example. You have actually the ballot box is actually catching fire. So these are the stories that actually show that this digital voting, e-voting is more secure. However, we have had our setbacks as well. So one of the setbacks, we had e-election of parliament, and then thereafter, I think it was 3 to 4 months after, a group of Czech scientists in University of Brno came up with a discovery that our ID card, that microchip, had some kind of vulnerability. Admittedly, something that couldn't be widely used, but vulnerability nevertheless. So the government approach there was exactly the same as in 2007, more than 10 years ago. And the playbook that the government used at that time, and me already in the private sector, I was very, very pleased to see that story unfold, because the government was completely transparent. They shared every piece of information, every piece of vulnerability. And the context there is that we have just had an election where roughly 30 to 40% of participants cast their vote with the same microchip. Which could have called into the question, if you look at the conversations, for example, that United States, several states are having, the whole validity of the question, the elections, that did not take place in Estonia. So you see this, you see this very open, transparent, ready to experiment, yet trusting procedures approach, and I think that's definitely. If not, I mean, they're definitely, it's not the whole part of the secret sauce, but definitely important component.
So what I'm getting is, Estonia has the citizens have a really strong sense of trust with the government that maybe the rest of the world don't have. Is that
I think it's also healthy mistrust.
Okay.
But there's a way to channel the mistrust, I think, a little bit better. And I think what you feel is that in Estonia, you definitely have this feeling that the government is closer to you. And again, this has been enabled by the digital services that the government has in general to public. And it's not necessarily that it's blind trust. It's not necessarily that it's this sort of special sense of meekness that you will see in population. Definitely not. So the Estonians are more than ready to challenge the government, more than ready to question the solutions. But nevertheless, Estonians are also very rational. So everything that makes sense doesn't get so emotionally, I would say, overused and exploited.
So what does the government do to reach out to the citizens, to involve them in their own, the country's transformation? What is their collaborative approach with its citizens?
First and foremost, government provides quite excellent services. So what you will still see is that although we are, again, Estonians are very critical of the quality of the services, but again, if you look at the Estonian digital story and the story of the Estonian government's digital services, then that's definitely a success story, and they are reasonable, available, accessible, and really hurdle free. So that's, and then also an added benefit is, of course, that the more services you have online, the less risk you run of meeting a corrupt official, because computer is never going to ask for a bribe. So that's a good start.
Yeah.
And then you have this permanent, ongoing discussion of what government and private sector can do together. Estonia is, and we as for example, as a member of Information Technology and Telecommunications Association board, we are very much also supporting the Estonian government's branding efforts of Estonia. And again, I think it's very substantial. So it's not only about brand or only talking about how good we are, but I think it's also about sharing the story, building international community, and that's the third thing, that we are so small that every solution that we do, everything we also do for export, and Estonians are, I think, natural exporters. For example, if you go to some countries, for example, in Greece, if you go to have a vacation in Greece, then every single person that welcomes you is also a little bit of the country's ambassador, and they want you to feel good and want to promote the tourism, and you can really feel that. I think in Estonia the same applies to the software exports. So even you can find a taxi driver when you land that is going to praise you some of the Estonian software solutions. So.
Okay, so that strong sense of pride. So the country's gone through this transformation, I guess through innovation and working together. So for you, what does the word innovation mean? Can you describe it?
I think the word of innovation in the sector where I am means basically three things. First of all, it means an ability and readiness to face your fear.
Okay.
It means an ability to test the unknown. And thirdly, it means a readiness to fail. And this all together gives you what innovation really is, which is an ability to be in control of the future. And that's I was asked a question recently. During the height of pandemic, actually, there was a CISO summit in Ireland, and the summit happened at the height of Irish National Health Service ransomware attack, which is one of the worst ransomware cases that UK has had the same, but I think the Irish one was especially cruel, and it was especially grueling because it was so long term, and it took time to solve. And one of the members of the Irish Parliament asked me this fascinating question, which was, maybe we have gone too far with digital transformation. Maybe we shouldn't do all that. Maybe we should, scale down the services. And then I found myself thinking that this is really not an option. Digital transformation is a megatrend. Ability to attempt to try to control technological megatrend. We have seen some successful attempts, but I think with digital transformation, this is not an option. The option for us is to face our fears, to test the unknown, and to actually be courageous enough to fail and find ways where we can fail safely. That's, by the way, one of the things that our company does. We offer companies, organizations, and even governments an opportunity to fail safely as they innovate. But that puts us in the driver's seat. So innovation, first and foremost, is courage, and we see that very often, of course, now with the AI, and this is really one of the fascinating and very, very interesting aspects of the sort of the public work that I'm doing right now, this AI Council at the Ministry of Education. So we are actually trying to come up with a matrix of how we allow this incredible innovation, that is the AI, that are the LLMs, into our school, because we need our students to be able to take benefit of it, but also ultimately to control it. Banning of it is not a possibility, but at the same time, do we realize all the dangers, and how do we do it safely, so that we have played out all the scenarios and all the possible scenarios that we might face, so that our children can manage this future world successfully and safely. And these are three things: face the fear, test the unknown, and be courageous to fail.
So you mentioned innovation within your company, CybExer. So how do you allow it, support it, let people play, bring different people in or different mindsets? How do you facilitate innovation within CybExer, and how has it changed the path of the company?
I think the company culture is very important in the innovation, and I think what the sort of the fundamental brainstorm culture where no idea is a bad idea. You talk to each other, you know, in a straightforward way, in a no nonsense way. That so that the culture component is very important, and allowing sometimes heated debates, allowing sometimes experimentation and risk tolerance is an important component. Second important component, I think that really facilitates are our customers. So and we're blessed with some of the customers who actually tolerate all that. So you have to have really risk tolerant customers that actually enable that type of innovation, and this is one of the areas where having lots of military and defense customers actually pays off. Military and defense area. Military and defense customers are one of those customers who really like that. Who it's part of their job to test the limits of the unknown, and to also sometimes allow us to fail and learn. And also I would use the term crazy, which is military requirements very often are crazy to the everyday corporate user. When some of the solutions that we provide, for example, our military customers, to an average corporate user may sound crazy, and we need to allow that part of craziness, and especially because crazy requirement from a military customer may actually become disruptive in a commercial market. For example, one of the requirements early on when we started doing cyber ranges, already were very early times, one of the requirements from military customer was you shouldn't charge us per user. You give us the software solution, but we don't want to be charged by user because we don't know how many users we have.
Yeah.
And some of our users are going to go to the battlefield, so they need to be rotated against new users, and we don't think that is fair. That we should pay twice because those people are already somewhere else. But that gave us a cyber range where we actually do not use payment scheme also in commercial sector that is based on single user.
Okay.
And that's disruptive. But it's much better. It also makes sense, and
it's easy procurement as well.
Exactly. So if you have a competitor that has based its business model on a user-based billing, then you can really disrupt. So yeah.
How has Ukraine affected or accelerated anything within your work, if at all?
We have supplied also a training platform to Ukraine. Training is incredibly important there. Being ready to actually, Ukraine is one of the good examples where you have actually people going on the battlefield, training on our platform, and then being ready to do digital sort of defense work. And obviously, military conflict like that is always also a catalyst for development. I think Ukraine has been incredibly brave, of course, facing this enormous aggression, but they have been also incredibly innovative. And I think what we see in Ukraine is the fundamental changes in the battlefield, fundamental changes in the way we use intelligence information, fundamental changes of how some of the conflicts in future are going to play out. And that applies also to the cyber warfare. So there are a couple of commentators and a couple of headlines where we have seen that where is the missing cyber war in Ukraine. and and our answer is perhaps we are not looking at the right place. There is this expectation of this die hard for kinetic style cyber collapse, the end of the world type of scenario, which is a movie scenario, and cyber war doesn't play out like that. There is this fundamental difference between the use of kinetic power, the missiles and the tanks and the APC. They, part of them is also deterrence, and part of their deterrence is overt use of them. So the enemy must see them. So that is already part of the function. The cyber power is fundamentally covert, and part of the deterrence there is we don't see that. So when the headlines claim that where is the missing cyber war, the problem is not that maybe there is no cyber war. The problem really is that maybe somebody's doing the war very well, and somebody's performing very well. And just a couple of examples. There is a story from the battlefield. You have a sysadmin of a nuclear, well, I don't know if nuclear, let's say you have a sysadmin of a power plant at the gunpoint of a Russian soldier.
Okay.
So the soldier holds him at the gunpoint and asks him to log in to the systems and give over the admin access later. Now the question is, was that a cyber attack or was that a kinetic attack? My answer to this is a cyber attack, and the reason is that you can have the best missile in the world. You can have the best, gun in the world or tank in the world, and you cannot counter this attack kinetically. You have to counter this attack in the cyberspace. Yes, they got in by using physical violence, but now the thing has moved to the cyberspace. And in cyberspace, the enemy needs the cyberspace to actually carry out. They need the network. They don't want to have the doomsday scenario. So where we need to look for the cyber warfare in Ukraine, and I think we are learning massive lessons there, are electromagnetic spectrum, the warfare, operational technology, all kinds of backdoors, telecommunication services, satellites. That all is open game for cyber warfare, and again, we must make sure to learn those lessons as well.
I was at a recent conference in London, the Resilience Conference, and they had people from Ukraine saying, at the start of the Ukraine war, it took 7 hours to collate, intelligence, bring it back to analyze, process, and then effect a response. But now it's 7 minutes. 5 minutes to collate the data, intelligence, analyze, and 2 minutes to send an effect. So that's innovation in action. And they call Ukraine the war of 24-hour innovations or technologies or solutions. Things have to change so fast. So I think maybe it's with your cyber rangers you can play those scenarios out, and then
absolutely, and we can, and we are, and that's really important.
One of the newspaper pieces that kind of give me the reason to contact you and give you to do an interview is there's this new innovation district in Tallinn being built called Krulli Kvartal. I don't know if I've said it correctly.
Krulli Kvartal, yes.
So it's not just an innovation with some offices, it's actually living spaces, homes, shops, restaurants, and this kind of building a community. Is this a new thing, a new sense of thinking? Because you said the villages before were kind of disparate, but is there a demand for these kind of spaces to bring people together now?
I guarantee you that every single person who is going to live in the Krulli Kvartal is going to have a summer house where they don't see the windows of the
okay.
But it's not that we are particularly anti-city and anti-community. There is still a strong sense of community and actually being able to share those new spaces. But actually, there is also this strong sense of sometimes wanting to escape to the forest, and I absolutely guarantee you that at least 90%, if not all, of those people have some place to go in the forest where they don't see the windows of their neighbors. Which doesn't mean that we are not open to those communities. And again, this is an excellent way of how you. It's not as the developers also say. It's not just a real estate development. It is actually community development. I think we have a really good chance to not talk about smart city there. We have a good chance to see the cognitive city and cognitive community. And I think that's going to be an exciting project.
As a business entrepreneur, and with all the millions of businesses in Estonia, what is the kind of environment, the vibe of that community like, the business sector? But also, are you fully supported? Does the government support you very well with, and how important is infrastructure projects to connect?
The IT infrastructure is pretty good and traditionally has been good, and that's one of the key aspects where the public-private cooperation is quite good. And again, and it usually looks like that private sector is complaining that government is not doing enough, and the government is catching up, but that's very predictable. And sometimes we say also that from the private sector and lobby organizations, with all the positive connotation to that, is that this predictable criticism is always very good. And when we have also in information technology and communications association, we say that when the government is coming out with a regulation, they already know what we don't like as a business community.
Okay.
And it works as a deterrent. So sometimes I think already when the regulation is coming out, it takes into account that, of course, the strong IT community, which is really strong in Estonia, is going to raise their voice. But having said that, I think Estonian government has relatively good ability to engage private sector in legislative process, in export promotion process.
Okay.
We have the government is very close, so it's not. I think in Estonia nobody hopes for a handout or a fat government contract, but rather we are talking about ways how government always can support exports. So we are like-minded there. Estonia is never that big that we can be self-sustaining. So for our economy to be successful, we really need to focus on exports. We have always been successful throughout centuries. We have been successful when we have the ability to do international trade or commerce, and it is true also today, and especially in the sector of IT. So, for example, we are talking about government measures that, for instance, when a government has received a successful IT project, part of the public procurement rules should be that if that project is accepted and if the project is not classified, then it becomes an automatic reference for export purposes. Okay. So the government agency would be obliged. It's not a law right now, but this is something that we're working on, because we have seen, certain ministries are very good with references and then showing our use cases, how we do digital transformation. Some of the government agencies that do not have this kind of experience could be more shy, so they might not know what they can talk about, or can they promote another company. So what we want to achieve is that actually when Estonian company has delivered a successful e-solution, that becomes an official reference, so the government would be obliged actually to show that as a reference and admit it and opening the market this way. And there are countless other examples how we work together with the government to make Estonia more attractive, but also and also make Estonia more attractive as a business community. But again, there are difficulties. Economy is in a challenging state. I think that we are still seeing bits of the aftermath of the COVID, where we are facing the same troubles that the whole world with inflation. This is all taking a toll, and then of course in this area we need to think about security as well more than ever, which again takes an extra toll on the government and government expenditure. So yeah.
As a business, how are you finding the right people? Are there enough people with the right skills in Estonia, or do you have to look further afield?
We have to look, how to say, deeper in the field. So we put our money where our mouth is in terms of talent search. We have we really believe that in IT, especially in cybersecurity profession, we need to start earlier. We have a huge skills gap, and we cannot fill it unless we start from very early age in with cybersecurity education. So our company is one of the main sponsors of a competition called Cyber Battle of Nordics Baltics,
Okay.
where we actually engage high school students to a very sophisticated cyber game and then competition. But actually, in the process, also we will identify them as as future talents and actually provide them a platform to study and develop their skills, because we cannot wait until these talented people graduate from universities with master's degrees. We have to start now, and we have to actually move very early. And also now statistics show that kids are actually very interested of that. And one of the challenges why we need to start early is that it's one of the things is the knowledge. It's just there's just so much knowledge out there that you need to study, that one needs to study to be successful. So it's wise to start early, but also those kids who are really talented in IT, we can reach them early because they probably reach us, and then it's a pretty close-knit community.
Yeah.
But we want to reach the kids who actually don't know yet themselves that they might be interested in cyber.
Okay.
How can we solve that problem? And that's why we need to start early. We need to show them that it's interesting profession, that there's lots of challenging stuff happening. And the way we do it is actually we have produced a format of a TV show. So the competition that we do, and again, it's a very small step, but it's a good. I think it's a kind of a interesting case study. We have hired the same team, and then we're working together actually with the same team who produces the equivalent of Estonian Idol. So there is a #1 recording artist in Estonia who is hosting a cyber show. The producer of the show is the same as Estonian Idol. And that attracts a lot of attention, and namely of these kids who don't know that they might be interested in cyber. There's something there. And the coolest thing, once we did, the Idol and our cyber show were running together at the same time. So what we did a crossover of the show, so that the young singing stars actually came to the cyber show. So where our cyber stars were able to teach them the cyber skills to defend their Instagram, Facebook, talk about cyber threats. And that got high ratings. But also very interesting was when the singing stars came to teach our cyber experts, how to present themselves, how to have a little bit of a social interface, be part of the community, and that was really cool and helpful. And I think we need to come up with these ideas to really find the talent early and find the talent in places where the talent even doesn't know yet that they're talented.
I'm sure we can help within the UK. Next month, in November, the army are holding a Army Cyber Spartan event, which CybExer is the technology partner with. And I've reached out to local business community and to the college and university, and I think we have about 40 guests, maybe 20 from the college and 20 from the university, of 18-year-olds to 20-something, who are going to come and take part in the kind of red team, blue team challenges. And I think as a first step, that's
very cool.
That's a big number. Maybe we can help do this with schools further down, because the National Cyber Security Centre in England, which is part of GCHQ, they have a schools program called Cyber First. So maybe we could connect with them or do something. But absolutely, we have to reach the children a lot younger, and they're a lot capable when it comes to IT technology and their thinking than maybe what we were when we were children.
They are, and we've been training a lot of audiences, a lot of high level, high stakes audiences around the world. Some of them classified, some of them unclassified. By far, the most daunting training audience that is really hard to address are the kids, because sometimes they are just so much smarter, but also their view to the world is different, and the way how you have to approach them. This is definitely important. Now, definitely challenging, but also it's important that the view of the world and taking that expertise, that really fresh expertise of things that we might not even be aware of, is also very, very critical, and it helps with a wider threat picture that is out there for sure.
So, in closing, what are the next 5-year, 10-year goals for CybExer as you develop as a business?
The next 5-year goal is to keep up with the wave. So CybExer as a company has been riding the wave of cyber range development. We believe that cyber range as a technology is the most effective technology to address cyber preparedness management needs. 7 years ago, when we started, observers said that cyber ranges are impossible to do in a scalable, off-the-shelf way. With the help of some of the customers, we actually proved them wrong. 3 years ago, we had our first investment from VC. There, our challenge was to prove the product market fit. Ever since, we have actually posted double growth annually. And then what our company has been doing is we are actually riding the wave of cyber range market expansion. We definitely want to stay there. We definitely want to play relevant, to stay relevant. The cyber range market has developed from early military adopters to wider commercial use cases, and this comes from the pressure that basically companies just want to be ready to manage their preparedness in a really sophisticated way, and that's where we want to be, and I think Gartner Tech Impact Radar October 2023 is predicting mass adoption of cyber ranges exactly in 5 years. So that's where we want to be.
Excellent. That's great news. That's great news here. So, Lauri, thank you for your time. Are there any final comments you want to pass to our viewers?
No, thank you. It was just lovely to talk to you, and very importantly, you have to come to Estonia.
No, I was going to say that. I will come one day. Yes.
It's a must now.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauri.
Thank you so much. Take care.